My name is Galen Boehme, and I'm reading the poem by Mary Oliver that is entitled Such Singing in the Wild Branches. It was spring, and I finally heard him among the first leaves. Then I saw him clutching the limb in an island of shade with his red-brown feathers all trim and neat for the new year. First I stood still and the thought of nothing. Then I began to listen. Then I was filled with gladness, and that's when it happened. When I seemed to float, to be myself, a wing or a tree, and I began to understand what the bird was saying. And the sands in the glass stopped for a pure white moment, while gravity sprinkled upward, like rain, rising, and in fact it became difficult to tell just what it was that was singing. It was the thrush for sure, but it seemed not a single thrush, but himself and all his brothers, and also the trees around them, as well as the gliding long-tailed clouds in the perfect blue sky. All of them were singing. And of course, so it seemed, so was I. Such soft and solemn and perfect music doesn't last for more than a few minutes. It's one of those magical places wise people like to talk about. One of the things they say about it, it is true, is that once you have been there, you're there forever. Listen, everyone has a chance. Is it spring? Is it morning? Are there trees near you? And does your own soul need comforting? Quick, then, open the door and fly on your heavy feet. The song may already be drifting away. That morning at 8 a.m., the sky was completely overcast as I walked slowly towards the old rock pile. My shoes, my work shoes, gradually became soaked as I moved rather slowly through the tall brome grass. I had forgotten to wear my overboots, not realizing that the grass would be filled with the dew of the night. My back started to ache as I carried the 2-gallon sprayer filled with weed killer to spray for the second time in a week the noxious weed we call the musk thistle. As I walked, I noticed several new noxious plants around the rock pile that needed to be soaked in the 2-acre area. With strong determination, I repeatedly lifted and pushed down the pump rod on the sprayer, creating plenty of pressure to push the chemical mixture out of the nozzle onto the noxious plants. But the orifice of the sprayer soon became clogged, meaning that I had to use the point of a safety pin to remove the small bit of debris clogging the orifice. During this moment of exasperation and delay, I suddenly heard not one bird, but a chorus of birds singing a melody of joy to welcome the new day, even though no sun was even trying to break through the heavy fog covering the sky. I lifted my eyes to identify the birds, but none could be seen. Perhaps the group was sitting on the top wire of a 55-foot electrical tower that was over me. The cloud cover prevented my seeing the top wire with any degree of clarity. Perhaps the birds were over by the 2 abandoned Alice Chalmers combines, 1/4 of a mile away, but I saw none. But wherever those birds were, their song came through clearly. One group of birds giving the verse of their selection, and the other group of birds quickly providing their refrain. Their song lasted perhaps for 5 minutes, provoking me to see the beauty of spring around me. Surrounding each musk thistle plant was a clump of green buffalo grass, awakening from the sleep of winter. Each mustard plant seemed to be at least 12 inches tall, each one with a yellow-tipped bowl of seed on top of a spike. Nature was awakening, even as I was trying to control the noxious weed we call the musk thistle. The message of the birds said to wake up, not only to me, but also to the world of the plants. Rejoice, for new life is coming. Soaked wet shoes, a sprayer in hand, and an ear that finally listened, and eyes that finally saw. The good and the bad, according to our definition, coming alive at the same time. The paradox reminds me that life has its ups and its downs, but we as God's stewards of his land can see the beauty of nature as it unfolds, providing we listen to the music of nature awakening from its winter sleep.